thank you all for coming, and we'd like to thank the Shasta County Arts Council for the venue and the taping, and then also the Performing Arts Society, of course, for inviting us in the first place. So many of us have read together before, but we're all in maybe different groups, but we're all local at least. And so we put this program together, and it was well received last week, so we hope that you'll enjoy it. So our poets tonight are Scott Yates, Sharon Bersolera, Nadia Hava-Robbins, Pamela Spoto, Michelle Small, Linda Boyden, and me. And our first poet is Scott Yates, and we have little bios for each of them. So Scott grew up in Cottonwood and taught for years in Yemen, and now teaches English at Shasta College. He lives in Reading with his sublime spouse, Naomi, 4 frisky children, and alliteration. In poems about Yemen and other miscellany, Scott seeks to attend to the sounds of his subjects and explore the mysteries of human experience. He is joined tonight on his first poem with his wife, Naomi. Scott.
Before Scott starts, we want to hold applause till the after each poem. It'll go faster.
Okay, in this poem, I hope you'll listen for the 2 pedals of a bicycle. Cycling Sulphur Creek Hill. Cycling.
Cycling.
Sulphur Creek Hill keeps me alive.
Sulphur Creek Hill can kill.
Climbing up the spring green slope.
One green light signaled death.
Pumps my hope and joy, dew and blood.
The reaper ran a red.
Dawn's breeze is sweet with lupin.
Blew by in a stinking Lincoln.
Cycling.
Cranking the shoulder, ISA.
Along the bike lane lay
Yesterday's prey, a cat.
dollar bills one morning.
Calico, flat, abuzz with flies.
A sacred text in leather.
Mouth gaping, stained, it dies.
Rich, red with underlining.
Cycling.
And glassy marbles rolled astray.
Like gray possum, 10 yards away.
Sparkling golden, white, and navy.
A soiled diaper, smashed whiskey,
Ribbons of colored earth awake.
and a belt-shaped rattlesnake.
Cycling.
Littered the oil-stained pavement.
After rain, streams trickle in.
Weeds, thorny burrs, cut cracks.
Spontaneous cataracts.
Cycling.
Through vines, cobbles, heaven.
Through hell and summer's burn.
Pedaling, foot forward.
1 foot plunges earthward.
Cycling.
I brake to avoid a crash,
I crest the miracle mile. Stop.
while the hill keeps cycling.
See the mountains smiling.
Cycling.
Cycling. In the next poem I'd like to read, you just need to know that the speaker has 4 children, the first 3 of which are boys, and the last one is a girl. So here we go. Vasectomy. All I could hear was the snip of the scissors, and my line was cut off at 4. No more surging sea, men springing forth from my loins. Lady Liberty was last, setting me free from fecundity and more fresh incarnations of joy. Saving rubber trees, scorning IUDs, is life now severed from mystery? I stare out across the feral floor of an empty factory as white eels wriggle off into the darkness beyond fortune's wheel. Words well up and spread across the land. We live in a deluge of words where words well up and wash across the land, pouring out from our laptop screens, running like cheap spilled ink from corners of our phones. Texts leak, drip into the flood, 4 feet deep, murky brown. Our jeeps are overturned and drowning. We flail for a raft of calm, dry, wordless space, But overflowing words roll like rivers from our mouths, and minds are soaked, saturated, sagging under the weight of words. Just stop talking. Words exhaust us. Refugees of Facebook, arguments, emails, conversational chats. Words. Pablo Neruda writes about them. Many words, poems about words. La palabras, palabra, word, the word. The words I want to say wallow in wordiness. When I say words, any words, repeated often enough, reformed, restated, revised, revitalized, the word I mean ceases to mean, and meaning nothing, dies. Word up to words. I'll have a word with you. The word of the day, word of power, magic words, word from on high, and all in a word document. This whirlwind of words sweeps my words away. 'Twas something, nothing, 'twas mine, 'tis his, and has been slave to thousands. But all these words filch from me my good word and rob me of whatever it was I was thinking, meaning. The word of God. I need a word made flesh. Do words dwell among us, or do we dwell among words? These words were written that I might pour them out on you. Then, slowly, listening, take nearly every word away, till only a few, and you mean something. Okay, if you wonder why I'm dressed a bit differently, it's because I spent some time in Yemen, and I lived for a few years in Yemen, and these next poems are about Yemen or about experiences in Yemen. And I like to read them as a memorial to a place that's very war-torn and sad right now, but also for their own sake. So the first one is called From Yemen with Love. It takes place during a time when my wife was living here in this area and I was living in Yemen, and we could only talk through Skype. And there were bombs and guns going off in the background during some of our conversations. So, From Yemen with Love. Ali Abdullah Saleh has returned while we recount our love in whispers, one more time through microphones separated by countless kilometers. Admire each other's lidded eyes in the shadowy gloss of our computers. Watch each other's breasts sink and rise, fogging the screens. Our breaths escape their chambers. Hear our hearts thumping like spies, hearts gravid with secrets and ciphers. Catch artillery's alluring cries and puffs mixing music with generators. And everyone knows that those gunshots are lies, imitating the drum beats for dancers and the shouting of holiday shoppers. Crouching to kiss through a screen and a wire, we relish Yemen's romantic gestures, a burst of bullets and celebratory fire. This poem is meant to imitate the chant that many people chanted in Egypt and Yemen during the Arab Spring, Ashab yurid isqat al-nizam, which means the people want the fall of the regime. The crowds, they chant the song of Arab Spring. The people want the fall of the regime. The people want the fall of the regime. The people march and demonstrate and scream. And drifters come, support them and their dreams. The power shift and betray their unease. They hide their right hands from their filthy schemes. Their left, the thugs, shoot all the punks in jeans. And blood and chunks of concrete mar the streets. The blame is passed for martyrs draped with sheets. then factions form, split friends and families, the free of speech, arrested secretly. So comrades go and shout for their release. Some camp and close sections of the city, and shops are shut and business people weep. Some leaders fold, and rather than play and flee, but power falls to the oligarchy. And everyone tells himself he wants peace. Heroes want the fall of the regime. Villains want the fall of the regime. And this last poem, I wrote for some students of mine in Yemen in an English class, and I was having them write poems and read them in front of the class, and they were very nervous. These were high school students. They were very nervous about reading their poems, so I wrote this to show them I understand. If it sounds a bit adolescent and narcissistic, that's my excuse. I don't have one for the other poems that I read. On making a poem public, those stairs, what do they mean? That silence and that heat, slow, sneaking flush of blood, the thud, thud, thud inside my ears, against all my hopes and fears. These words will hang in empty air where stars turn dark and clocks have stopped. Out there, like leaves adrift down endless streams to seas of long forgotten dreams. They wander and roam, but will they reach? In the forest, they're spoken, but will anyone? These words, mine from magmatic chasms at my core, these lines, infant toes and ears and eyes and more, shiver on the stage, exposed.
Our next poet is Sharon Bracilera, and she is the Associate Dean of Access and Equity at Shasta College. Sharon is a poet, an educator, program evaluator, mother, and feminist researcher. As a writer, she is drawn to understanding the forces that shape us and how we as humans shape the world. Poetry is a way of seeing, a mode of inquiry, and a desperately needed expressive form. It is both a mystery and grit, and she loves experiencing how it can be coaxed out of unexpected places. She believes in the power of poetry to move us to presence, towards social justice, and to nurture the reader's own creative expression. Her favorite poems are an invitation to do just that, to slow down, be present, and engage. Sharon.
If I am to wander off at the end of my years, let it be on a misty stretch of beach, driftwood piled like cairns, and a handful of dazzling sand, quartz, mica, obsidian, serpentine, the occasional agate worn small and smooth, each weathered fragmented touchstone of something I once had. Let it be known for a time without words. Let memories become burnished with the passing of thought. Let kisses, faces arise more sweet than they were, to visit through long, speechless nights. If my past becomes broken glass of an uncertain number of shards, let each piece refract the purest of light. Let me follow its play into the dark. When my mind howls, let me see a gentle face, a voice once known, telling me of how to unhand life, till the song is one I sing, till I forget that between nothingness and nothingness, I once thought, this life is mine. This poem was written after hearing a piece of a forensic anthropologist working in Argentina on cases of the desaparecidos. It's called Reparations. Teaspoons of dirt and dirt warm in the desert late afternoon, heaped in disheveled castles nearly orange, when under the creosote roots the team found the first puzzle of bones. In 2 months they'd find bullets, but now only bits of skull they would lay on worn calico quilt, where they could tell their stories to scientists, parents, who pieced together what fracture happened when. Mothers hold smooth white shards in cupped hands, wanting to take them back into their bodies, fill them again with marrow, fuse them with warmth, grow them backwards in time, smaller and smaller, just to their beginning. Instead, together they stand around blankets and unfinished children, where the one with the most tools draws a map of how the bones got here in this pit, by whose hand and when, so that more of this child and his family's hunger can be laid in a chosen place, under dirt from the garden, close to home. Waiting for CAT scan results. We pay. We pay to remember we are always dying, always. To hear how and who is to blame for the shadows staining film or screen. I wait for the weight of the shadows to make itself known. Density is the murkiness we struggle over. So much taken in, including the effort to keep so much out. Let me write this check. You tell me of the inevitability of my death. Send me scurrying to right will. I imagine you saying, months will winnow desires. Gather the ones that shine. Lay them on your chest like warm stones, like babe to breast, like coins on eyes, heavy and utterly, beautifully unknowable. This is a new one that was inspired by the work of Ta-Nehisi Coates, who wrote Between the World and Me. He became famous writing a piece on reparations, the case for reparations for the Atlantic. It's titled Garden. Here are our young, each tended with care, sitting in sweet rows. Take this young man. Think of all the sky poured into his bones. The years spent waiting his birth, raining of kisses on cheeks, bedtime stories again and again. Long searches for books of children with skin like his, black as carbon becoming diamond. Think of the boy's black body nurtured by walks to school, bushels of gas for soccer games, play dates, buckets of money for suits for school dances, tutoring, books and books, a forest of pencil and paper. All the food, all the sun, all the love in this boy. All the water that has bathed this black body, oceans of precious drops. All the words about sex and protection, speaking your truth, the law and not speaking, saying yes sir, no sir. People who think they are white and protection, melanin and invisible lines, schools, bullies, safety, drugs in your body, where to work, where to walk, where not to go, being black and magnificent, being black and vulnerable, being black. Explain bad apples are the harvest of these systems, look past the roots to the soil. Explain phone calls and dread of phone calls, iron in the mouth. Danger is not random. You say, here are some amendments. Give no excuse for arrest, no smart mouth, loud music, anger, toys that look like guns, hoodies, hands in pockets. Do not question the officer in the street. Write it all down, all of it, all down. Swallow hard, but not everything that says the danger is you. Know those who look after you, pray without ceasing. For the love of love, hold on. These are our tender young with skin absorbing light. How much is lost when one is cut down before bearing fruit. Strange, the shape of the scythes we say are safe to the touch. Strange that mothers still find strength to tend gardens. This is a lighter one. Truth Store. Last night over margaritas, Bill and Jeff told us of their plan to open a truth store. This was their idea, or possibly that of their wives, hatched over a smoky fire on a moonless night. No one remembers the details, no matter. The point is this: they saw a niche and wanted to fill it. The need yawned wider as the truth wore on. Truth types were named for future collection: religious, existential, scientific, semantic. There would be sections in the store where each would rest without regard for overlapping doctrines or dissonant paradigms. Jeff considered an age limit for entering the store, or curtain closets. Bill, counseling for those who leave with more than one truth in hand, because not everyone knows you can explode when you drink truth down but close lips tight. This led to an open return policy, a free good browser club, a truth exchange program, and most importantly, the need for glasses when trained on the truth would bend the fields around you to allow new insight to slip in, the spaces that exist even in the densest of matters, to possibly take purchase. Glasses that, focused on many realities, would see them as pieces of tile awaiting only sandy grout and pliant wood to reveal in their brokenness the image there all along. Yes, we will need help to see, we agreed, and we toasted our own broken beauty. This last one, minutia. To break an ankle deep in an ice cave means death for some. For others, the end comes in a bee sting on backcountry hike. The smallest things bring us down. Ah, we say, for shark, hurricane, the runaway truck. But it is always the small things that matter. The way cottonwoods in your hair rustle at the same time, or the purple Sierra shooting star brushing your ankle. The neurons that stop firing, the kink of one gene. The farther in we go, the tinier life becomes, till we are nothings joining, until small things are there, and joy and death, which have no matter to them at all, draw close. And then, oh, the canvas, oh, each dot of paint.
Our next poet is Nadia Hava-Robbins. She was born in Prague, Czechoslovakia. She is the founder and artistic director of the Traveling Bohemians and editor of the Bohemian Press. A nationally and internationally published poet, she has performed dance, poetry, storytelling, puppetry, magic, and integrated combinations of them all. In major cities and festivals across the USA and Canada, she's also appeared in a documentary produced by the National Film Board of Canada. Nadia.
The practice of Tai Chi. I am a child of this earth. Nature is my mother and my father, my teacher and my guru, my friend and my enemy. The obvious lies in front of me. All I have to do is close my eyes beyond seeing to unlock my inside, to see below the surface. Cover my ears beyond hearing and hold my nose beyond smelling to unleash my intuition, to sense with my entire being. Shut my mouth beyond talking, to let my spirit, my vitality express its creative power. Keep my mind quiet, beyond disturbing, to concentrate my energy, my focus, to restore my innate awareness. When I'm still, I don't interfere with my stillness. I remain calm, peaceful, serene. When I move, I don't interfere with my movement. I allow the mind, the body, the legs, the arms, and the spirit to connect, blend, dissolve to one another, to become one united, efficient, dynamic power. I always thought a refuge is a sanctuary, a safe place in space and time. But I have come to realize it is also a state of mind. I would like to stay in stillness for a little longer, to feel the interval between each second and lose track of time, to synchronize my breath with the rhythm of the ocean waves, to see the colors you dream of without you telling me, to be closer to you than just close, to connect with the vibrations of the earth, penetrate the motion of my heart. Simply open the window. To listen to the symphony of silence for a little longer, before the thoughts and words return, sneaking into the solitude like little thieves, stealing the moment. Bondage. Oppressed soul and tied up body, desperate to emerge from forbidden dreams, to feel beyond the flesh, untie, undress, hold and caress that which can never be owned, but only for a split second, against the steady beat and harmonious rhythm, climbing to the explosive finale, but not too fast, for as long and longer to suspend the intimate moments of pain and pleasure, not to let go, not ever, even if freedom is so close. I lost this one somewhere here. I know it is in here. Actually written in two languages, Czech and English. Extremely short, so I will read it in Czech, just so you hear the sound. Na obloze měsíc kulatý, veliký jako balón, které dítě ho tam zapomnělo? Translation, or I guess. A round moon in the sky, like a big ball. Which child forgot and left it behind? Oh, maybe. Can't see that. And the last one is a very simple prayer. Voice. Let me hear your clear, free voice. Let it resonate and travel far. Let it be the joy in the harsh winter of our lives. Smile. Let it be the sun that shines. Let everyone feel the warmth, the rays that heal sorrow and pain. Let me see you smile. Peace. Like a flower in a bloom, the aroma of night and day, let it fill the air we breathe. Love. Let it open its wings. Let it fly over this earth. Let it unlock your heart. Let it seep deep into your bones. Let it seep deep into your heart and soul. Let it embrace us all.
Our next poet is Pamela Spoto. She's a performance artist, an educator, an activist, lover of animals and other living things. She is published in numerous small presses. She's a peace and sustainability activist, bears repeating, and she is joined tonight by Jim Collins. Pamela.
I'm going to read two poems, and Jim Collins is my partner, and he is of Lakota and Cheyenne ancestry. He has a very sweet voice and sweet drums. And this first poem I'm going to read two poems. The first one is about my first sweat lodge that I attended. And I had no idea really what to expect, and that probably was just as well. And in the Lakota tradition, the sweat lodges focus on purification and healing, and they can last 3 to 4 hours, 4 rounds, and it gets very, very hot. And we don't get naked. So this is called Two Warriors and a Sweat Lodge Ceremony. Two Lakota warriors stand by the lodge fire, burning hot, logs standing on end, tops touching. One warrior has long brown hair and eyes like deep, dark, moist earth. The other warrior, hair long with eyes so blue, filled with sky. They are preparing for ceremony. One warrior takes a threaded needle, pierces the skin, stitches a feather into his arm. He stands there stitching feathers into arms. This is blood, sacrifice blood to strengthen prayer. We gather in a circle in front of the lodge, 9 of us. I cradle a female pipe in my left palm. We will smoke this pipe until there is no more. A black dog curls in the fire pit inside the lodge. He is coaxed out. Bending low, I enter the dark lodge. My place is right to the right of the warrior with eyes like sky. A warrior sits cross-legged on each side of the door. 7 stones hot, are brought to the door. The warrior next to me reaches with antlers in each hand to receive the stone and places it in a small pit in front of us. 7 stones now sit in the center, each alive. From the top of the lodge hang strips of cloth, red, green, white, yellow, black. The door closes in darkness. The warrior with eyes like sky pours water on the stones. He begins to chant in Lakota for health, for forgiveness, for others, for me. He prays to grandfathers and grandmothers. Drums beat. The warrior with eyes like rich, wet earth sings, each calling to the other. Heat, chant, steam, prayers, heat, drumbeat, sweat. One heart, the warriors yell. The door opens, cool air breathes in, water, 7 stones, one by one, into the pit. The door closes. Prayers to grandmother, prayers to grandfather, prayers for forgiveness, prayers for others. Pray hard, the warrior with sky in his eyes says. I pray for Palestinians, I pray for Iraqis, I pray for Afghanis, I pray for all who suffer, I pray for each one who sits here. I pray for the warriors. One heart, the warriors yell. The door opens. I breathe in cool breath. 7 stones, one by one, the door closes. The warrior next to me says, this is the hottest round. Pray hard. Water, rocks, heat, sweat, drumbeat, chant, release, heat, power, heat, strength, heat, darkness, spirit, heat, drumbeat, prayers, chant, heat, sweat, sweat, covered in smooth, slick sweat, heat, sweat, smooth, spirit, release, skin burning, throat aching, skin sweating, slick heat, burn, hot heat, release, my skin is burning, I lay on the cool earth, breathing hard. The warrior with eyes like sky says, pray hard, I pray hard. One heart, the warriors yell. He puts his open hand on my back and says, are you all right? I feel his hand and breath and cool air. 7 stones, the door closes. Pray hard, I breathe. One heart, the warriors yell. 2 male pipes are passed until there is no more. You hand me a folded red cloth and say, put these on your altar. We stand in the middle of the dirt road between the mountain and canyon, 2 warriors and I. The warrior with eyes like deep, dark, wet earth says, they fall to their knees crying, saying, I can't go on. Then they get up and go on. You give me red clover for healing, sheep sorrel, turkey rhubarb, burdock, slippery elm tea for healing, reishi mushrooms for healing. I receive all these gifts. I am blessed. At home, in front of my altar, I open the folded red cloth. Inside are all the feathers pulled from the arms of warriors. I pray hard. One heart, one world, one people, pray hard. Heart, people, world, pray hard. One heart, one heart, one heart, one heart. The next poem, my second poem, my last poem, is called The Names of Things. And I was focusing on, if we know the names of things, we're less likely to kill, poison, and destroy those things. That's my wish. I want to know the names of things. When I know the names of things, I can stop and really see. I can name burdock, red sorrel, calendula. When I know the names of things, I know sugar pine, ponderosa, Pacific yew. I know Zulu prince, white sage, Mexican sunflower. When I know the names of things, I have a relationship. I am connected to the other. When I know the names of things, I see beauty in golden eagle, black vulture, red-shouldered hawk. I see seal bay llama and black Arabian stallion. When I know the names of things, I see amaranth pull and dance toward the sun. I see mighty ashwagandha and holy basil bloom. I see sphinx moth kiss evening primrose, and I am drawn into this life force, this chi of things. I wonder why. why I would want to bomb all this, use earth-penetrating weapons on it, plant landmines in rich, fertile soils or ancient desert sands, poison cold, delicious waters, cut and burn the huge old trees, fill the sky with air, with air. I cannot breathe, I cannot breathe. When I know the names of things, let me call you by your name, not us and them. When I truly know your name, we become I and thou. Let me call you by your name, Khalid, Carlos, Amal, Che, Tuwa, Hua, Hugo, Redtail, Felipe, Tala, Musa, Little Dog, Melita, Kazumi, Kalen, Cam, Fast Horse, Doug, Arij, Muna, Lorene, Akichita, Ahmed, Akichita. May we learn the names of things. May we find the I and thou. May we feel the mountain's sweet, sweet embrace and the wind's enchanting songs. Let us kiss, kiss our lovers well, and love this Mother Earth and all the blessings she provides.
Our next poet is Michel Small. He's a former English professor at Shasta College and received his BA from Berkeley and MA and PhD at State University of New York at Buffalo, New York. He loves to write, enjoys poetry presentations, and hates sending out work for publishing consideration, but has been published nonetheless. He's won prizes and has been included in anthologies. He tends to write more or less narrative poetry, though his work explores other modes as well. His favorite subjects to write about are food, children, love, human conflict, and the body. Michel.
Okay, this first poem is about, well, most of us have a time, who have trouble sleeping at night, have a time at night that always awakens us. And for me, it's 3 a.m. So this is my poem about 3 a.m. I'm addressing 3 a.m. It might be some dream that barks eyes open, or a dog snore, or sheets wound too tight, or mounting need to piss. But always 3 a.m., unwelcome punctual guest of too many nights. Any pretext will do to hang around with a sad litany of problems unsolved, deeds not done, unbalanced budget, unwritten letter, all the uns of our undoing. If she must awaken me, why not with something lovely? The hummingbird that fluttered above a tiny nest yesterday afternoon, or perfect buttery globe of a moon that hovered on the horizon last evening, or pure ring of children's laughter. But these joys would grace the way to sleep, and 3 a.m. will not sleep. Chuckles at monotonous, incompetent sheep, prods muscles and joints into restless search. Even a tight fetal retreat fails. Only when conversation lags and we give up on her riddles, decide we will never sleep again, does she leave the rest of the night to us. Sometimes. This next poem, my daughter was married to a Jewish fellow about 1.5 years ago in Israel, and so I visited there. The wedding was in Jaffa, and we visited the old market after the tourist tour of all the famous places in Jaffa and the history. Myths hang over the narrow streets of old Jaffa, where Perseus rescued Andromeda from sea-girded rocks, and Noah's son built a town after the great flood, where Solomon imported cedars of Lebanon for the first temple, and where, among the alleys, a vision of acceptance visited St. Peter. Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans destroyed and ruled, as did Crusaders and Arab armies, Richard the Lionheart and Saladin. Napoleon massacred inhabitants, slept in a church, and mourned plague victims. Yet down the hill overlooking the harbor, past a restaurant filled with connoisseurs of the finest hummus in the world, is the flea market. Clouds of the past dissipate among its cobbled alleyways and crowded streets, cornucopia of goods flowing from open shops, Persian tiles, silken Indian scarves, beaded necklaces, all manner of antique or simply beaten furniture, and, of course, menorahs and hamsas, silver and otherwise. Merchants bark, then wheedle and cajole, but successful or not, smile and return to conversation. They enjoy the bounty of naive or intimidated tourists, but even more the bouts of loud bargaining, as if this testifies to the value of their wares, more than shekels tossed into cash registers and exchanged at arm's length, instead of the intimacy of contest. Arabs and Jews, Americans, Nigerians, and Indians all mix in these streets. Among the bustling and hustling, some may pay too much for goods, but amid the vibrant colors, polyglot of crowded bargainers, messy intimacy of semi-organized chaos, there is a hope of intimacy to stem the tides of violent history. This next one I read last week. It's about my daughter, and you know how 2-year-olds always say no and so forth. So, in any case, this poem is called Almost Two. She loves the sound of no, the feel and taste of it, her lips rounding, plumping, holding the note like an angel at choir, though not so angelic. Sometimes at some outrage, like green beans before whipped cream, or her crib before she wishes it, a shriek to blip phones or shatter saintly serenity punctuates her no. More often she plays with it, draws out the consonant, tongue vibrating against the palate, winding up long and delicious before delivering the full orbicular vowel, emphatic about socks she wears or wearing them at all. Or adds to it, pushing aside the interfering hand with a no, no, no way, not overheard slang, but no conflated with go away to clarify her meaning. She has a symphony of no's, some simple, others laughing, refusing to kiss, demanding, but never pleading. So many snips at the umbilicus. Her mind leaps outward with so much knowing. It is her resounding yes. This next one's called Comfort and Harmony. It has to do with, we always see in nature joy and beauty and so forth. But what about sorrow and sadness? So this poem is about that. Joy always finds echoes. Trees sway to its music. By the path, weeds, yellowed by winter, blanched at the very tips, bend like a young girl's hair, tangled by tumbling play in the rain. The very stones seem to dance. Joy, self-sufficient, does not need such fictions, but grief and sorrow push inward, mist the eyes, muffle the ears. Shall sadness, swelling, subsiding, not find a rhythm of fog shrouding the lake, falling to hide the hills on the far shore, then lifting to reveal their moist woods? In bare trees of winter, in moss, green and olive along the path, in cold wind rustling through the bushes, even lost can find its music. Nature has no care for me, but its melodies await. For an attuned ear, willing feet, nature will waltz, even if the tune is grief. This next one's about hospital. My wife was in the hospital, and I noticed there's a kind of curious, intimacy is maybe too strong a word, but friendship among all the people in the ward, and they're all very different from each other, and that struck me, so I wrote this poem. The long plastic tube drips my wife to drugged sleep. In the next bed, an old woman coughs, the same rhythm. The first hesitant, a pause, then two more with a choking sound, another pause, then a flurry of a dozen, ending with 2 or 3 trailing off. Her husband, awkward in stained overalls, stands by her, not knowing whether to touch. In the hallway, a young man, coaxed and harangued for 2 days, has left his bed and shuffles in a daze to the window, hanging onto the pole. His hair hangs in dark, greasy threads. He is bare to the waist, and tattoos peer from the shriveled flesh of chest and arms. In another room, a middle-aged woman whimpers, wondering how long she must wear her gown. She has gray frizzy hair cut to an immaculate dome. She speaks well, in phrases sophisticated and scared. The elevator opens and I see first an enormous leg emerging like some ancient battering ram, then a wheelchair, then a 15-year-old girl. She is nonchalant, as if her leg were some unwelcome stranger there, she hopes, for a short visit. Meanwhile, nurses and aides bustle from time to time from their nests, adjusting, feeding, measuring, grabbing wrists, and always smiling, as I do, as if suffering could be so easily duped, though we all know better. Visitors appear, many carrying flowers or candy, some like the Holy Grail, fragile and potent, others embarrassed, mumbling awkward and sincere, depositing their gift in the first empty space. We always smile to each other, cautiously, say hello, exchange vaguely knowing glances like strangers who share a belief. We are citizens of the democracy of pain. This next one's called Supermarket. It has to do with how I feel when I'm being respected. Supermarket. Familiar checker slides packages across the reader, asks how I am today, engages in light banter. Bagger, new and cute, asks, paper or plastic, as my cloth bags slide down the counter. I forgive her and we all laugh. Then my bags full, bill paid, she asks unforgivably, do you want help out? No thank you, an automatic politeness that belies a smorgasbord of feelings between and including laughter and tears. I might have said I could manage, defiant, flexing muscles, but too much peevish admission in that. The customer doth protest too much. Or indeed I might laugh, as if to say I'm younger than I am, can outlift you any day, might surprise your young friends. Ditto doth protesting. I might exaggerate my thanks, sarcasm that assumes she should know better. Intuit the smorgasbord gauge my feelings. No good. The world does not owe me that, especially not a young, nervous girl. I leave the cart inside, slide the bags up my arms, a silent protest, and slink out the store. And wonder, when the time comes and the scythe-wielding fellow with a black cape and cowl asks me, do you want help out? What will I say? Okay, my last poem's Moment After. It's inspired in a way by lines I love of John Keats, where he writes, it's an ode on melancholy, in the very temple of delight, sovereign melancholy has her shrine. He's writing about even with great joy, there's always the awareness of the moment right afterwards. You come back to earth. But I think there's something good about that moment. So in any case, the poem. Moment after. How lovely the epiphany, the climax, the mystic moment. Electric shiver of muscle as hips and shoulders swivel and ball leaps from the bat and eyes follow its arcing flight beyond belief. Or, high, high atop the mountains, arms thrust up in thin air, fists clenched, each exhausted, plodding step forgotten, as lungs swell in silent, triumphant cry. Or, perfect verse, unbidden in the middle of the night, or sudden inhale of the divine, or always climax with a lover. I prefer the moment after, not so full of self, when the world returns, but before greed, wish to prolong mind's desire to hang on, relegates all to virtual space of memory. The moment of embrace, from teammate, guide, or mentor, the moment to savor horizons wherever one turns, when whatever God one worships retreats to magnificent distance. Or when, in some alpine meadow, while pine limbs wave in the breeze, you pick, with utmost tender care, each stem of grass from your lover's hair.
Our next poet is Linda Boyden. She's an author, illustrator, storyteller, recovering teacher, and a poet. Linda has written 5 and illustrated 4 picture books. The Blue Roses, Powwows Coming, Giveaways, an ABC book of loan words from the Americas, Boy and Poi Poi Puppy, Roxy Reindeer, and Boy and Poi Poi Puppy in Doggone. I haven't read all of them, but The Blue Roses is magnificent. She has had many poems published in various literary journals and belongs to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, the Wordcraft Circle of Native Writers and Storytellers, and Writers Forum of Reading. She spoils kids and grandkids, writes, teaches, and colors in or outside of the lines, and 2016 is her 5th year of writing a poem a day. She believes that poetry gives voice to our silent songs. Linda.
And don't forget to adjust the microphone. Thank you. It's easy to forget. Sorry.
Thank you, Melinda. And thank you to the Performing Arts Society and Nadia and Peter Robbins, who also promote poetry in Reading. Yay! This is wonderful. Melinda as well. You know, everybody here coming and supporting poets, because, you know, we're hungry. We need to share our poems. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I think I could be a poem. I think I could be a poem. Nothing fancy. No sestina, no villanelle, no form to slow my flow. I can keep the beat, rock the rhyme in time and style, make you smile. Lick my words. Take your time to savor the flavor. Each bite holds, guaranteed to curl your toes. Yeah, all things considered, I could be a poem. Now, I'm grandma. Now, toning it down, keeper of the hearth. Up first, slippers whisper along the wooden floor toward the hearth. She stirs embers into flame, fills kettle, sets morning into motion. Her devotion chases gloom and chill away. Soon familiar tendrils, toast, bacon, coffee, waft through the house, join with the tang of wood smoke to pry the others from sleep. Footsteps patter, dishes clatter. The new day rejoices in this woman, this keeper of the heart. The weight of us. This is for anyone who's been divorced or going through a divorce. I'm just saying, the weight of us. The house groaned under the weight of us. My hand pressed against the pane, felt the tremor of cold words, slammed doors. Outside, a storm brewed. The wind gusted and a shingle escaped. It danced, a tiny rectangle within a swirl of leaves, brown and red. Gliding, buoyed by the wind, the shingle crested the junipers and sailed from our yard. One tiny shingle escaped the weight of this house. I grabbed my keys and left, leaving behind only the clicking of my shoes. Okay, so I like to do lots of different weird poems, obviously. Anyway, this is, I watched a few years ago a retrospective on Bob Dylan. And so this is called Dylan Retrospective. What happened to the wild poets, the crazy word makers, red, white, black, brown, hell, get drunk enough and everybody's Irish, 30 pints of Guinness reveals the truth. Where are the crazy poets? We were the wanderers, the word listeners, the rat-tat-tat-tat beat filling our brains, guitars trilling to Smoky Mountain blessings, thoughts blurred as snowfields. We passed the breadbasket, played jug band music, hoped to eat, sometimes didn't. So we wrote, we hoped, we lived to write. We sucked up coffee, and often we just sucked. We used our hunger as the fuel to wind up unforgettable. Immorality is one letter shy of immortality, a few cigarettes and beers from the gutter. Stolen lyrics, forgotten lines, who cared, who remembers? We got our words out, we got our worlds out. Now, who will catch the torch? Who cares where the hungry poets spend the night? Who knows how to feed one? Do we? Does anyone? When are you gonna howl, America? Or are you star-spangled to death, a no child left behind single file parade to acres of beige houses with white trim? When will you howl, America? Where are your crazy poets? Well, now I'm gonna go out with the sad one because this is in honor of my sister-in-law who passed away a few years ago. This is my last one. In the time of violets, we met in sunshine, two strong women, liberated, fearless, sisters by marriage and friends despite divorce. We returned to the ways of our ancestors, worked the soil, sowed, harvested, canned and jellied, baked our bread, shared our babies back and forth across fields, across states, across time. Always she was the wildflower, too strong to thrive in a garden, while I stayed content to be planted and pruned. She flew along rare currents, and when the soaring faltered, she released the trapeze, free falling through months and years, sometimes landing hard, holding up in darkness and tears, the only light a flickering motel sign. Now in the time of winter, the only time our parched land awakens and sings itself into melody, now when all around us dares to bloom, now she is ready to leave, dying in the time of violets. Thank you. Our next poet is Melinda Brown, who says that she writes poetry to find out what's inside and beyond. She finds writing a process of uncovering, aligning, and shaping, which often reveals deeper meanings and connections previously unknown. Writers are Argonauts. After every poem, she says, I feel like I have nothing possibly left that I can write about, that this might be my last poem, but then comes news headlines, politics, and the natural world waves its arms. So I'm usually able to extract something on the day of our poetry group's meeting, often finishing a half hour before I have to leave, then sometimes editing on the steering wheel right before I exit the car. Melinda Brown.
That's true. And I wish she would read my poems. She did such a lovely job, and on her own. So, okay, well, I have 4 poems, and the first one is inspired by a news story September 11th last year. There was a piece of space junk that was coming down, and scientists studied it, hoping to learn where an asteroid might hit and give us warning, which I don't think would do any good, but anyway. So this, the space junk was titled, was named WT1190F, so that's the name of this poem. Electrons charging around a nucleus, space junk we emit forms a steady whirling, zooming carapace, a shield, bouncing off new experience, warding off commitments, not repelling errant planets or asteroids looming large, which would flatten and stick as our other still airborne detritus slows momentarily in horror. Occasionally, orbiting too low, gravity snatches one piece from its path. Spectacular downward plowing descent, a crater, a tsunami, inception of an ice age, inaction of extinction, or burning up nearly consumed on re-entry, an incomplete obliteration. Fairy dust in a night sky, minute shards and splinters alight softly on a leaf, a limb, the forest floor. No cataclysm or catalyst whatsoever. We emerge intact, a near miss. Humans avoid eradication, after all, oblivious as always. So this next one was written before it became ubiquitous, I swear, about 4 months ago. I guess it was already ubiquitous by then. It's called His Kingdomness. For decades, the behemoth reptile in his cypress stump swamp dominates his domain, growing dirigible rotund on varied prey. Suckling pig, fatted calf, spring lamb, and stuffed pheasant, hand-fed by gaping, ingratiating, unquestioning townsmen who dream their future dreams as crocodiles too. Keep my banquet table full, and I'll show you the secret to be like me. The self-anointed crocodile smiles his rumbling smile, yawning, plucking rotted flesh bits from his jaws, batting opaque crocodile eyes as his table groans, bowed down by their offerings. I'll show you the way. You can be like me, but not great like me. I'm the greatest crocodile ever seen. I can eat anything. No one and nothing can best me. The fact is, I'm the best. Us who are best, I the most best, deserve it all. The rest of them are losers. Prey deserve what they get. And they don't get much. I take what I want, more than I need, and you let me because I am who I am, which is the very best. Goes without saying. But I said it and I'll say it. The tremendously huge crocodile he, tremendously huge. So this one is about a travesty, I think. Misuse of our land resources. And it's called Lifeblood. You can't drink almonds. An ocean of spring blossoms now floods the land, pouring profits into corporate pockets, bucketfuls. No longer the breadbasket of the world, California's the snack bar, a vending machine colossus spewing nuts worldwide, satiating desire on every continent. Encrusted brioche, hickory smoked, almond roca, almond butter, all washed down with almond milk. Ah, almonds, the petite treat. Eat 8 a day, stave off aging, regrow hair, evaporate cellulite, live forever. Draining our lifeblood, new acres stabbed in dailies, almonds planted horizon to horizon, blocking sunrise, shuttering sunsets, highways carve green trenches, Sierra Nevada's driest in centuries. Cash cow, king cotton, slave diamonds, blood almonds. Savor each mouthful, swallow your future. Our fertile crescent invaded, our aquifer desiccated, animals holed up in hollows, rivulets of creatures dehydrating, investors diverting, pumping, siphoning, blood orchards, engorged ticks consuming 1 gallon per nut, sucking, smacking, stealing, savoring. This is my last one. It's about a canoe trip a few weeks ago. That was strenuous, to put it mildly. And it's called the Sacramento River Panorama. It was like this, but not this. Continent-sized clouds, white-capped clouds, downy clouds, concrete cloud containers of rain in parapets, pediments, and flying buttresses. Pelicans floating above in that sky, we floating below on the river's surface like fallen leaves on the membrane between air, river, and land. Watery rocks and lengthy strands of moss in subterranean greens and shadowy blacks raced beneath us in the shallows upriver as we worked our way down. Pelicans soaring high as morning stars, piercing the single molecule thin skin between us and another dimension. Argonauts, perhaps from the future. they keep their height, then ascend impossibly further. Light against gray thunderheads, dark against white thunderheads, transparent in long, slow turns, disappearing, reappearing when we thought they'd gone. Later, from a sandbank overlooking dusk, we watched a great flock of cormorants, other times seen singly or in pairs. Ink black, calligraphic, flat, sharp, fluid, flapping swashes recount their story, writing it along the scroll of the river. Scarlet locust and tamarisk invade the rocks, the oaks, the willows and sycamores, snake grass and wild grape, green and blue herons, white egrets, kingfishers, woodpeckers, and snow-capped eagles. All exited their perches on stone or treeland when we came too near. At Perry Riffle in the low gold afternoon sun, some rocks sent out rays of light, reflected by their flakes of pyrite, and astonished I slipped two in my pocket. Stiff headwind, flat water. At times the wind obscured all sign of current, as is sometimes the case in life. Our drift boats plying the oars, our canoes paddles digging in, sun on our faces, jaws, hands, sun on the water angling into our eyes, bouncing under our hat brims. Glorious sun, sun burning us with joy. Heat, glorious heat, cauterizing us with determination. And wind, glorious wind, so strong against our stiffening muscles. River, glorious river, we follow, pushing onward to find our home shore into the embracing arms of the patient sycamores. We were like that, but not that. So, thank you all for coming.